Hey there, Tundra Nation, and welcome back to the channel. Today on Tundra Tactical, we are breathing some new life back into a fan favorite series, Ask Tundra Nation. These videos are an unscripted, fan-generated Q&A where you guys get to ask us pretty much anything that you want. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and let's start the show. We want to say a huge thanks to this week's sponsor, USCCA, for helping us revive Ask Tundra Nation. And as you guys should know by this point, USCCA has been a massive supporter of the channel. They want to help you guys get spun up and covered regarding all the things you don't normally think about in regards to the everyday carry habits. USCCA has been around for a long time, helping shooters like you and me live a better life by providing peace of mind to some of the less considered things surrounding everyday carry. Now, here at Tundra Tactical, we do have to deal with idiots on a daily basis, but with USCCA, you guys are going to have professional help when you need it the most. So make sure to check them out today. All right, guys, let's roll on to the questions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go on to our very first question here, and it is from Warden Wolf, submitted today. He wants to know, why do so many people swear by Kydex when quality molded leather holsters are more comfortable, break up the outline better and by softening the edges more, and then offers no disadvantage in function? This is doubly so when you factor in the obscene price of a lot of Kydex holsters in comparison to a good quality leather holster from good quality companies. This is what I got to say to that. I disagree, number one. I try not to be a massive dick in these videos, but here's the thing. Leather holsters, while you do make some decent points, they do end up tending to be a little bit more comfortable. I'm definitely going to argue the whole breaks up the outline better thing. I think the main reason why Kydex is, number one, a lot more popular than leather, and number two, just a better choice overall for most shooters, is going to be a lot down to the fact that they are customizable. There are like boutique places that are producing them. There are big name places that are producing them, but generally speaking, they're not really considered a viable option. And for the most part, that's because of a lack of choice, a lack of customization, or I should say a lack of choice in terms of old guns. I mean, there are plenty of choices, I'm sure, for modern guns, 226s, Glock 19s, Glock 17s, yada, yada, yada. But the choices are better in the Kydex world. And here's the reason why. The customization is king in Kydex. Leather takes a lot of time and effort and hard work to get into, where Kydex does not normally do so. So that opens the door to a lot of people out there, maybe like me, who wants to just get the old oven out and fire it up in the garage, get a couple of clamps and start making molds together. It might not sound like a big plus right off the top, but here's where it kind of gets interesting. That entry level, that barrier to entry, I should say, is a lot lower. Therefore, it gets me the practice I need to become better at it. And then maybe 2 years down the road, after I've got 100 holsters under my belt, or however many, I'm pretty damn good at that point, and then I can start marketing it as an actual business. Where with leather, there's a lot of like actual threading and sewing involved. There's a lot more considerations than there are for Kydex. When we go ahead and talk about price, there's not really that much of a difference if you're genuinely honest and you do a little bit of deal hunting. Now, granted, Bravo Company USA at the time I looked for this information was having a sale, so they were significantly cheaper from all of the companies that you ended up listing, or not all the companies, but all the holsters from the company that you listed. Doesn't mean you're wrong, doesn't mean I'm right. No, it doesn't. It boils down a lot to personal preference and what you like for your gun. Kydex holsters can provide wear lines on your gun because they're molded very specifically, where leather holsters, while they do have that mold, tend to make a more surface area contact onto the gun and don't have that singular locking point. There's a bit of a benefit there, but in terms of the price, man, I can't honestly agree with that. All right, to our next question here, we have Trauma, a longtime supporter of the Ask Tundra Nation series, and he would like to know, during the ammo shortage, is playing first-person shooter games an acceptable substitution for training, i.e., does playing Tarkov daily make you a better shooter? Well, if you guys didn't know by this point, we do have a brand new Twitch, well, not brand new, but a new Twitch channel, new-ish, over at twitch.tv/Tundra Gaming Live. And yes, we are currently with Mr. Brandon Herrera, the Bearded Male, Stark Media, Mr. Gunshark, and quite a few other people playing Escape from Tarkov now. To answer your question, no, it does not. There is nothing about first-person shooters I think that could even remotely be considered viable in terms of it, like, increasing your skill. I don't even know where you'd get that idea, Trauma. Come on, I thought better of you. I thought you had some kind of like degree or something. Seriously, buddy. I love how I said I wasn't going to be a dick in these, and that's the very first thing I do to Trauma, but I know him and I love him, and I hope he does for me too. The reason I say this is it's all theoretical, and it's all, there's no muscle memory involved. There's, you know, one of the biggest portions of training, one of the biggest portions, 3, 2, 1, go. The reason I say this is, like, one of the biggest portions of training is based off of muscle memory and repeat actions. Just like in a shooter, right? You do the same, you know, you use the same gun a lot, you become proficient with it. It's the same thing in real life there, but they don't translate. And that's all I really got to say about that one. Good question, buddy. Our next question this week comes from Don Rayner EU, and he wants to know, why do people on the pores? Some of us can't afford more than a sight mark and an Omni lower. That I absolutely disagree with, buddy. Much as I love you and your participation in the Discord, I will say I'm gonna modify your question to what I think you actually mean by this, and that's people aren't willing to wait and be able to afford something a little bit nicer. The reality that I've seen in my 10 plus years in the retail side of the industry is people get really, really excited. They get that paycheck, they go right to the gun shop, they buy the ammo, maybe they pre-bought the ammo, I don't know. Whatever reason they have to spend the money, they're going to do it today. Gun people, we tend to be impulsive buyers. We do. It's one of the constants of the personality types that holds true to a vast majority of us out there. I think that's the real problem here. The whole, you know, on the pores thing, it's not really because you're poor. It's because you're jumping to a decision, or you're jumping into bed with a company that does not make a good product, right? That, like, you cannot objectively say Sightmark is the same as, you know, Trigicon, or that Omni is the same as, I don't know, Aero Precision or anything like that. It's just not possible to do. You can say, oh, sure, they're just as good. They're, you know, they work fine. Sure, to an extent, maybe that is the case. Maybe for you and the, not you specifically, Don, but just for the general person out there who's putting 50 rounds every couple of months through their AR, sure, it might work just as fine or just as good. But at the end of the day, they're not really. And if you would have waited an extra month, maybe 2 months, sure, it sucks, right? But you're going to get a lot better piece of equipment that's going to last you a lot longer of a period of time, and going to be able to function and shoot a heck of a lot better in most cases. Now, I know when we're talking about AR lowers, stuff like that, okay, there might not be a whole lot of difference between the $40 Anderson lower and the $150, well, okay, pre-COVID prices, I should say, the $40 Anderson lower and the $100 XYZ lower. There might not be a whole lot of difference there, but what will happen is over the course of a period of time, you'll notice that the more money you tend to spend on something, or even the longer you wait to drop that cash on that product, the better piece of equipment, the longer lasting piece of equipment you're gonna get. With regards to the comedy element, it's just gold, man, because people convince themselves, they absolutely convince themselves that they've made the best choice possible, when in fact, it's not the case. Now, I understand, once again, there's something to be said about getting it now versus saving up a little bit of extra money and getting it later. There's that desire in me too. Like, trust me, I've got a couple $100 sitting in my wallet right now. I'd love to go out and buy something crazy and cool. But really, like, that couple $100, if it sits a little bit longer in my pocket, it's going to have another couple $100 or another, you know, $50 or however much money you end up making. And over the course of a period of time, you will be able to afford that Glock 19 or that Aero Precision Lower or what have you. Pick something. Take it up 2 steps, in the quality chain. If you're looking at buying a Taurus, 2 months later down the road, if you save the money, you can buy a Glock. And that's the reason why the whores, right, get shit on. It's less about their money and it's more about, I think, really their decision-making process. All right, with the next question, we have N7X Ranger coming in and asking, what is your estimate for when the ammo situation, quote unquote, will stabilize? Boy, that is one of those extremely tough questions to answer because there are a ton of factors contributing to the ammo situation that we have right now. The biggest one is just a lot, and I mean a lot, of new gun owners. Something in the realm of like 8-9 million new gun owners in the last 365 days. That is a big tax on an already pretty high demand market in the ammo world. If you guys think about it, these ammo producers, it's not like they're sitting back on their haunches. I mean, this is quite possibly the most profitable era for them of all time. So they want to produce as much ammunition as humanly possible. One of the biggest challenges that we're seeing with the ammo supply and demand bit going on right now is with all of these extra shooters, they're not just sitting around hoarding ammo, maybe like you or me. These guys want to go out and shoot. They just spent $300, $400, $500 to $1,000 on a new gun. They want to go be able to use it. A lot of them are great examples here, and they're wanting to go out and train, take classes, do stuff to keep the rest of the firearms industry alive. More power to them, honestly. What's happening is because of that want and that demand to further their knowledge, as the puppy's yawning in the background, is that's causing them to be more aggressive and purchase. There's a great Colion Noir video where I think he was interviewing the head of Nosler or something like that, or the CEO of Nosler, and he was talking about this. We should be supporting these new shooters. We should be welcoming them into the new community. But one of the other major problems is the panic. Not really the panic, but just the fear buying. You rewind the clock like a year, maybe a year and a half before the whole COVID stuff hit. If you went out to the shop, I don't know where you go, a Cabela's, a Walmart, a local gun shop, and they had, 3,000-4,000 rounds of the brand that you liked, you're not going to go out and buy, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 boxes. I mean, maybe you are, who knows? You're probably going to go out and buy a lesser amount. But right now, of course, like if you see it on the shelf, you're going to buy up to the limit at which they'll sell it to you. And that is honestly contributing to the problem. Now, there's no way in hell we can get everybody to, communicate and agree that, oh, I should only go out and buy one box. No, do what you want, but understand that when you're clearing a shelf in a store, you are contributing to not necessarily the problem, but you're contributing to the next person going in there not seeing ammunition available and perpetuating the fear of not being able to find any ammo in the future. When do I think it's gonna end? If I had to put a hard date on it, something like that, I would say probably about 1.5 to 2 years from now. I've got plenty of friends up at Federal. I know some other people in the ammunition industry. They are not sitting back on their haunches. They are working day and night, running their plants, running their machines 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These guys get no breaks. They're being worked to the bone. But the demand is just so high. And I think that once we kind of figure out, okay, this will stabilize at some point, granted, the politics remain moderately stable. Who knows how that'll go? I try not to cover that in too many of the videos. But as things hopefully improve, I think the panic will reduce and things will stabilize. It's gonna take some time though. And unfortunately for a lot of us out there that have the desire and want to go shoot like we used to, I don't see that becoming a reality for us in less than probably 2 years to get back to like the way, 17 cents a round or, 15 cents a round 9mm. Yes. Next we have Tundra Volk. Tundra Volk is wanting to know, so after watching Tundra videos, by the way, Volk is one of our new camera guys, joined me out at the Gundies this year in Texas at Drive Tanks. That was a fantastic time. Unfortunately, never released a video on it, but maybe there'll be some behind the scenes content in the future that we'll will drop over on Patreon. He says, so after watching Tundra videos, my music player only plays Ghost. Of course it does, buddy. Should I be concerned or is this normal? Well, I do believe that if you are a Tundra fan, you should probably know by this point that my favorite band is in fact Ghost. Sure, some people call them the Nickelback of the metal world. I wouldn't even really consider it metal, but it's just rock. I don't know. I like them. They're fun. If you like them, just have fun listening to them, buddy. That's all you got to do. In relation to should you be concerned? Nah, man, just enjoy it. All right, so this one is a good one. It's going to require a bit of some thinking from me. He says, Tranquil the Cat says, imagine if you will, you are now the new CEO of Glock USA. I now have a lot of money, probably. Thank you, fanboys. Effective immediately, what are 3 things you would change about the company and what 3 products would you make for future launches? Wow, okay. 3 things on the spot about the company that I would change and 3 products for the future for future launches might be a little bit for me, a little bit too much for me to come up with on the spot. I can tell you, I would probably change the way we market things. They've got a ton of cool products, right? They've got a ton of cool stuff. They've got a ton of cool shooters on their team, but they rely a lot on the competitive world to promote their products. Granted, that probably works. I would expand that 100% into the content creators world and get on board with a bunch of bigger YouTube channels, or even mid-size channels like maybe myself, Glock. I don't know. I'm just saying. Marketing would probably be like where all 3 of the things go about changes of the company, because I just don't think Glock does a fantastic job of it. Granted, yeah, it's hard to market firearms. You can't do it on Google. You can't do it on Facebook. You can't have like a Glock ad, which sucks, but it's the world we live in. I would find alternative methods from just like the live events, the gun shows, shot shows, things like that. And I would start marketing directly to the customer as opposed to marketing to bigger vendors, local gun shops, all the distributors and all of that. If I were to make changes to products, I would get rid of all of the 40 caliber pistols and probably the 357 SIG stuff, because let's be honest, they can't really be selling all that well these days. Maybe they are because it's the only ammunition people can find, or at least could find. But I just don't think it's ever been profitable for them to, not ever been profitable, but at least recently been profitable to build those 27s and all that. I would get rid of the 27 for sure. Like that gun is just, I don't even know why it exists, to be perfectly honest. The one thing that I would introduce is the thing that myself and 100 bazillion other people have been wanting since Glock started making minor little changes and introducing new platforms or new, like the 48s, the 43Xs, the 19Xs, that type of stuff, the 45. I would finally have a Glock with a 17 slide on a 19s frame. I have wanted to see that officially from Glock since they started announcing those new models relatively recently in the past, 5 years or so. And unfortunately, they've just ignored everyone who wants it, which is a big part of their audience. Like there are, like I said, a bazillion people who want this gun, and they just refuse to do it for whatever reason. It would require redoing the frame a little bit to extend it out to match the barrel and the guide spring or the guide rod and all that. But I mean, come on, for Glock, how hard can it be? I don't get it. I don't understand why they don't do it. We got a hand grenade this year in the Glock, or was it this year or last year? I think it was last year. I don't think we got anything from Glock this year. A hand grenade in the Glock 44. Then previously we got the 43X and the 48s. Obviously, MOS variants of, actually, I don't know if they did an MOS variant of the 43X or the 48 because of the thinner slide material, or the thinner slide in general. But hey, that's what I would do. I would love to see a 17 slide on a 19 frame. Okay, our final question is coming from AMT0043. He wants to know, or she wants to know, I don't know, it's 2021, whoever. You can be who you want on our Discord, unless you're a dick, and then just, get the hell out. Really want to get an FN57. You think that's a good idea? Love to know what the Tundra Nation thinks of that choice. Thanks, fellas. No problem, buddy. Hey, we're happy to help when we can. You might not like my answer as much as you hope for. I'm going to classify the FN57 100% as a novelty gun. And I have some pretty hard opinions on novelty guns. I used to own, I think the very first pistol caliber carbine I ever owned in my entire life was 100% a novelty gun. It was a Chris Vector, the OG series in 45 ACP. And while it was cool and it had that recoil system, the Super V operating system, I ended up selling it and going back to an AR and building a really nice AR just because, like, it's cool. Like, all the COD fanboys at the range come out and talk to you like, oh my God, is that the Call of Duty? You know, okay, cool. Yeah, that wears off. That and actually gets really effing old. Not saying that'll happen with the 5.7. The 5.7's a common enough gun to where you're not going to be like mobbed at the range for shooting them. But here's the thing, it's still a novelty gun. And the reason for that is it doesn't have a terribly practical civilian use. You know, the rounds are designed to be lightweight and fast. I don't see it being anything other than just a blaster, right? At the range. And if that's what you want it for, and you're going into the purchase with that expectation, go nuts, man. You know, you do you. Don't let me tell you what to do, even though I pretty much have made a career on doing that already. If you know what you're getting into, great, that's awesome. But if it's going to be like a carry gun or a home defense gun, there's so many better options out there for a lot less money, not to mention cost per round on a normal day is significantly cheaper than 5.7 by 28, regardless of the round that you go with. I think a lot, well, actually, I don't think a lot of the people that I know that have had 5.7s have sold them because they just stopped shooting them. They don't want to pay for the cost of the ammo, magazines, you know, running the gun at the range ends up hurting on an average day, kind of like shooting a 9mm does now. Maybe not quite as bad, but still, it's, you know, I don't know. I think it's like average everyday price was like 45 or 50 cents a round. And that's a lot for a 20-round magazine handgun, which you can burn through ammunition extremely quickly. So if you got a good reason for it, sure. You got a unique situation for it, sure. That's totally cool. If you understand what you're getting into, great. But don't hit the pitfall of thinking it's going to be just as good in everyday situations as a 9mm. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is where we are going to end it for today. Thank you for joining us on the revival edition of Ask Tundra Nation. Make sure to tune in next week where we still don't know what the f we're doing.